Hello and welcome to the lecture for sections 5.1 to 5.4. This section is on one of my favorite subjects of this whole course, entrepreneurship. So taking a risk to start a business to change society. That's the essence of what entrepreneurship is. So that's the first topic, entrepreneurship defined. We'll talk about different types of entrepreneurs, characteristics of successful entrepreneurs, kind of what motivates them, and then some details about starting your own business. I say this topic is important for two reasons. One, some of you may choose to start your own business in the future, and this may give you some information in that regard. Second, all of you will probably work for a business at some point, and it's helpful to know what motivates and what drives the person that started it. It'll make you a better employee. So entrepreneurships identify opportunities and they take risk to start a business to take advantage of those opportunities. So they provide a product or service that didn't exist for a particular set of customers. So when businesses are successful, generally they do at least one of the following, sometimes more. They bring something new to the market that didn't exist before, a new invention. They improve upon an existing product, add features and benefits to it that benefit customers. They find a way to serve an underserved or new market, so bring something to a group of people that didn't have access to that before. They figure out a new delivery or distribution system. DoorDash didn't exist a long time ago, neither was Uber Eats. So that's a new delivery or distribution system for getting food from restaurants to consumers. Or increased integration. That's kind of one-stop shopping. So I sign up for a streaming service that also produces its own content. That's integration. A lot of times students will ask, where do ideas come from? I want to start a business. How do I come up with an idea for a business? The core, the center of all of that is a problem that needs a solution. So no business succeeds that doesn't solve a problem for a customer. So identifying a problem that has not yet been solved is the first step. Look at where that overlaps with other aspects of your life. It could be a hobby or a talent that you know a lot about. Where does your knowledge of that overlap with a problem that needs to be solved that maybe you can bring some unique perspective to it? Maybe your previous work experience. You worked at a restaurant and you thought it was dysfunctional and it could have been done in a better way. That previous work experience could give you a lens through which to look at those problems in a different way than most people would. The education that you receive, either at this school or somewhere else, could give you insight into problems. And then you just may simply recognize an unmet need. You may be a customer yourself that's frustrated at the lack of something in society, and you choose to meet that problem. So what motivates somebody to take that risk, to maybe leave a job with a steady paycheck and benefits and jump off the cliff and start their own business? And these different types of motivation impact different types of people. So one thing that motivates, and this is considered 4 C's, an easy way to remember it, is control. You want to have your hand on the tiller of the boat. You want to make decisions about where we go and how we do it, and not be frustrated by what you think are the mistakes of the people that are above you in an organization. You want to run your own ball game. Now that's going to be impacted by outside funding. To the extent which you allow other people to invest in your company, you're also giving them a voice in the control of the company. So you give a little bit of that control away in return for money. You might be motivated by challenge. You like a sticky problem that occupies all of your thoughts, and trying to come up with a unique solution that really kind of gets you going. That really gives you enthusiasm for the task. That would be in contrast to kind of just keeping the ball rolling, right? Continuing to service customers. That maybe not be as interesting. So those kinds of people are what are called serial entrepreneurs. They keep starting new businesses because that's what they like the most. Creativity. You may want to make the world more beautiful through your creativity. You may want to leave your mark on the world in some way. You may want to make a contribution to society, make the world better. Social entrepreneurs often fall into this category. People that start a business not necessarily because they want to make money, but because they want to create change. And last, and I would say least important, is cash, getting rich. So people do get rich by starting their own businesses. It doesn't happen all the time. In fact, it happens very infrequently, but it does happen. And I would say that if your number one priority is to get rich, you're probably not going to succeed. That's not the best motivation to start your own business. It should be what happens if you do the other things right. So a good business opportunity is the idea that you have plus, and I should say following 4 characteristics, not 3, sorry about that. 1, it's attractive to customers. So people that you talk to about it generally go, wow, yeah, that's cool. I would like that. So it should be attractive to the people that you want to sell to. 1, it should work in your business environment. There should be suppliers willing to provide you with the materials you need to make your product. There should be employees available to provide the work that you need within your company. It should be something that's doable, that isn't kind of a pie in the sky, maybe one day this can happen kind of a thing. It needs to be executed within a defined window of opportunity, meaning if you're going to come up with a new product that works with the iPhone 12, you can't come out with that 8 years from now. It'll be too late. So there's generally a window of opportunity for just about any idea where you kind of have to strike while the iron's hot or move on to the next opportunity. And then importantly, it can be defended against competition. If you have a great idea, say you have a great idea for a new fast food sandwich and you open a restaurant and start selling it. Now, you can't patent a sandwich. You can't protect the ingredients of a sandwich. So if that sandwich is really popular and everybody gets going gangbusters about it, every single other fast food restaurant is going to have that same sandwich on their menu, and then what's unique about you anymore? You've lost your advantage. So it has to be some kind of idea that you can protect against somebody else coming in and taking your business away. So some of the potential benefits of being an entrepreneur, 1 is you have a bit more control over your time. You're going to work a lot for sure, but you can choose sometimes to take a Thursday afternoon off if you need to. You have certainly more control than, say, somebody that's punching a clock at a regular job. You may find it more fulfilling. You may go home at the end of the day feeling better about what you've done all day than working for someone else. Independence and autonomy. Sometimes you'll hear the phrase, boy, I really want to be my own boss. Well, my personal experience was that's kind of a misnomer. Well, you might not have a traditional boss that you report to that could fire you or give you a raise or have some influence over your future. In effect, you trade that for many bosses. All of your important customers are in effect bosses to you. If you owe a lot of money to a bank to fund your startup, the bank is a type of boss to you. So you kind of trade one boss for different bosses in some ways. You could have the benefit of long-term ownership. You could have a business that you could hand down to your children one day, kind of generational wealth in some ways, and you create that and you take pride in that. I know I took pride in hiring people and paying them enough money that they could buy a house and put a kid through college. That job didn't exist if I didn't start my company. So there's some pride in that. Financial reward and control over compensation. If you're a profitable business and you have adequate cash flow, you can decide how much you want to pay yourself. Do you want to pay yourself not very much and keep the money in the business and grow the business and have your reward be the value of the business over time? Or do you want to pay yourself a lot of money and not keep the money in the business? So you can have some ability to make decisions about that under the right conditions. Control over working conditions. This is really important. If you stop and think about the kind of place you would want to work, how do people treat each other? What is the mood in the business? What is the culture in the company? Kind of how do people behave with each other? You can determine that. You can say this is how it's going to be here, and you can hire people that are like that and let go of people that are not like that. So that's an important motivation for a lot of people. On self-esteem, you can feel good about yourself, about creating something and hiring other people and being a provider of opportunities. And then lastly, you could make a contribution to society. I know I felt good about the children that played on the playgrounds that I designed. I thought I was doing something good for children, and that I felt good about that. That was a benefit of having my own business. So some of the downsides of entrepreneurship. One, a lot of them fail. Over half of new businesses fail over the first 5 years. Generally, they fail because the person that starts a business knows a lot about what their business is. Maybe they're really, really good at making cupcakes, but they don't know a lot about contract law or accounting or the rules regarding employment, all of those kinds of things. They may not know so much about those other things. One, obstacles. Everything that is a problem in a business is your problem, and that can wear you down over time. Another factor is loneliness and isolation. If you're fearful about your business failing, there isn't anybody in the company that you can really talk to about that. If you go to your most important employee in the company and say, I'm worried we're not going to be in business in 3 months, that person's probably going to start looking for another job later that day. So you end up feeling like there isn't really anybody you can share your problems with. I know that was the case for me. And the problem with your friends, of course, you could talk to people that don't work there about your business, but none of them really know what all the factors are, and it would take too long to explain it to them. So you can end up feeling like the Lone Ranger. Financial insecurity, there's always a threat of bankruptcy. There's always the threat that something bad is going to happen. You run a restaurant and one of your employees gets sick and sickens customers, and it's written up in the newspaper that people got sick at your restaurant and people stop coming to your restaurant. That could happen any day, and that kind of hangs over you. You definitely have to put in long hours and hard work if you own your own business, if you're serious about it. I found in my business that every waking moment I was thinking about my business. I'd go to bed thinking about it, I'd wake up in the middle of the night thinking about it, and I'd be thinking about it when I got up in the morning. And there is never an end to what you could do to make your business better. That tends to put a strain on personal relationships. You don't see your friends as much. You don't spend as much time with your family potentially. Your hobbies take a back seat to your business. So maybe if you used to go hiking all the time, you do that less. So those are some of the downsides of that. So a lot of times what people will do is do a SWOT analysis. That's one form of analysis about a business idea to say, is it good? Is it bad? Kind of poke holes in it a little bit. And it's important to play devil's advocate, to be really objective about it. So SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And think about it in two parts. Strengths and weaknesses, that looks internally at the organization. So, and if your organization doesn't exist yet, then it looks internally at what you believe it will be. What are the strong parts? Like, do we have some really good employees? What are the weak parts? Maybe we have not as much money as we need, or we don't have a good accounting system or something like that. The other part is external, opportunities and threats. So what are external opportunities that we could pursue? And what are threats? What are things that could harm our business? So from these four aspects, we could begin to develop strategies before we even get started about how to use our strengths to capitalize on opportunities, how to guard against threats harming our business, and how to get better in areas that we're weak. So it can lead you to very kind of tangible strategies and directions about what to do to make your business better. Many people will do a feasibility analysis before they get started. So that's a way of gaining an understanding of the market, meaning talking to customers about what it is that they're interested in. You'd need to look at the industry health and trends of the market and understand if you can obtain a clear, defendable strategic position, meaning you can occupy a part of the market that other people can't come and take from you. What kind of capable management will you need? How you're going to attract, motivate, and retain employees, and then a little bit about financial control and adaptability. One way to do a feasibility analysis is to make a general statement that's the basis of your business. I think I used an example in class that I'm going to start a food truck that sells German food to construction workers on job sites. That's going to be my business. So my statement would be, there are construction workers that want a hearty German meal from a food truck at lunch. So I can then make a list of questions that challenge that statement. Do construction workers have enough time on lunch to eat a hearty German meal? Do they really want that food? Is that something I need to find out? And I could list all those kinds of questions by playing devil's advocate, and then I could research an answer to each question. That might involve doing research on a computer, it might involve talking to people, but how can I answer each one of those questions? If you're not yet, you should join the Timberland Regional Library. You have to go into a branch of the library. There's one within walking distance of school. Get a library card. It costs nothing, and that allows you to go to trl.org and gives you access to databases that are amazing. If I wanted to find out how many single mothers with school-aged children that make over $200,000 a year live in Thurston County, I could find that out in that database. So it's a really good way of getting concrete information about the size of your market when you get to that point. Okay, a little bit about the 5 forces model. This is something that Michael Porter from the Harvard Business School developed, and it's a way of looking at a potential business through 5 different forces that interact with that business. One in the middle is competitive rivalry among existing firms. So how much do existing firms really go head-to-head with each other? Again, if it's quite a bit, that's not as good. If it's not very much, that's better. Starting on the left, what are the threat of new people coming into the business? Is it an easy business to get into, or does it take special know-how, special equipment, a lot of money, those kinds of things? Up at the top, what is the bargaining power of suppliers? If there's a relatively few number of suppliers, then those suppliers have a lot of power to set prices, determine delivery times, all of that. That's a bad position. Down on the bottom, what's the bargaining power of customers? If there's only a handful of big customers, then those customers really kind of drive the train, and they determine under the conditions under which they'll buy and the price that they'll pay. If there's lots of customers, that's not as much of a problem. And then on the right, what is the threat of substitute products? To what extent could people say, you know, I really don't care for what you're offering, I'm going to get something else instead? Briefly, just a business plan. That's a document that you would prepare that you would give to outsiders, say a bank or a potential investor or something like that, to say, this is what my business is going to be about. I've thought of everything and I've written it down. So the big benefit of a business plan is that you go through the process of thinking of all these things before you start spending money. You may get through the whole process of building a business plan and find out that your business really isn't viable. And thank gosh you didn't do it and spend money on it, right? So it allows you to test your assumptions without risking money. So the 3 people that generally get your business plan would be a bank, would be an investor, or would be employees that you want to attract to your business. So think about who the reader is going to be when you write your business plan. So quickly, the contents of a business plan. There would be a cover page to it, the name of your business, your name and contact information, some paragraph about the confidentiality of the contents. You'd have a table of contents so people could find different sections easily. People won't read it like a book, they'll skip around in it. The first section will be the executive summary. That's 1 to 2 pages that boils the plan down into a very condensed argument about why your business will succeed. That is the first section people will read. If they don't agree with you, if you don't hook them with that, they're not going to read the rest of it. So that's usually written last after all the other sections are written. Company description describes what it is you're going to do. The mission, vision, and culture of the business. The mission is, why should you exist? The vision is, where do you want to be 5 or 10 years from now? And the culture is, how are people going to relate to each other in your company? You'll do some research and communicate what the opportunity is, both on the industry level and on competitive analysis. You'll have a marketing strategy. So who are you going to target? What customers are you specifically trying to sell to? You'll take an order from anybody. You'll take business from anybody, but who do you really want to pursue? Once you determine that, you can determine what is the message you want to communicate and how are you going to communicate it. So what are the 2 or 3 really important things that I want that customer to get about my company? And how am I going to deliver that? Is it going to be a banner on a website? Is it going to be a radio ad? How am I going to communicate that to people? And then how am I going to make sales and how am I going to service my customers? Am I going to have commission salespeople or what's the situation? And then I'll talk a little bit about management. So how are we actually going to manage the company and operate? Who's going to be on the team? What risks exist? Do I need a physical location or is it online? And how am I going to produce a product or produce a service and ensure that it's the quality I expect it to be? And then lastly, I'll do a financial analysis and some projections. So I'll prepare an income statement. That's how much money we're going to make in the future. And it's an estimate, of course, it's a projection, but it would give the reader both an income statement and cash flow, how much cash is going to come in and go out of the business, and what are all the assumptions that's based on. That will answer a question to a bank or an investor: how are they going to get paid back? How are they going to make money or get the loan repaid? That's the most important thing. So I hope this was beneficial for you. I look forward to talking to you in the next lecture. Thank you.